All right, we are here with part 3 of your reading, specifically about the Ottoman Empire. So, talking about the cultural exchanges between Ottoman Empire and Europe. These two became neighbors on the Mediterranean and the Balkans. And I need to get you a map. I need at some point to get some maps to you so that you can look at these regions as we talk about them. That's been the biggest challenge for me, is how to incorporate your map skills. So I will do my very best to incorporate a map of this region known as the Ottoman Empire, and even this area, the Balkans, so that you know exactly where that is. The Mediterranean, you might know where that is. It's over there near Greece and Rome, or Italy. Okay, that's out there in that area, the Mediterranean Sea. That's where it is. So, when the Ottomans expanded to Central Europe, cultural exchange was necessitated by the interactions between art patrons, traders, diplomatic, and political leaders. Sultan Mehmed II was the most instrumental in the exchange of culture between the Ottoman Empire and Europe. Some of the cultural influences of the Ottoman Empire to the west were the spread of Turks' images in European art. Another important cultural exchange was the works of the famous cartographer Paracelsus, who made a world map during the reign of Suleiman. Another artist was Haydar Rhyssus, who existed during the Sultan Suleiman's reign and who painted the two leading European rulers, King Charles V and King Francois I. The growing relations between the Ottoman Empire and Europe in the 18th century led to architects and painters from Europe to visit the Ottoman Empire. These people brought back paintings of the Ottoman Empire to Europe. And this makes people talk about you. When they can go to your country and see the stuff that you do, especially if it's big and bombastic, it's like, oh, look what they do. Wow. Oh, are they crazy? All the things that we do when we look at art, when we analyze art and interpret art, we have our opinion of what it says to us. So, many of the pictures look like war, and many of the people look like mean. And this is how the art was interpreted in many cases that came into Europe. This is what they said about the majority of them. They were depicted as people of war, fighters, okay, conquerors, and yeah. So, anyhow, the empire was entirely unified by Islamic ideology and expanded its territory through the application of the Islamic warrior code of jihad. So that's a word for you that I'm sure you've heard some modern day Muslims use the word jihad. War. Holy war. Yes, it's supposed to be the opposite of crusade or the same as the crusade, but eat both of them to me. If you're going to go kill people, I don't know how you're doing that for God. I don't know. But this is what they say. Necessary. It has to have jihad. You should Google that term just so you have a better understanding. But anyhow, this is how they got all their stuff, through the Islamic warrior code of jihad. Further, the empire was believed to be highly pragmatic. Pragmatic means you're making sense. Pragmatic. You were doing something like practical. This is going to work. They were highly pragmatic by acquiring helpful ideas from other cultures and applying them. The state controlled wealth. There's a socialist slash communist slash fascist word. Okay, the state controlled the wealth and private power, as in there's no free enterprise, no capitalism over there. If you let people have too much stuff, then people think they have power. Remember the absolute ruler? I'm the one in power. See, we already got through with that. Europe has been done with the king stuff. Remember, we've gone through the revolution, the French Revolution, the English Civil War. We've cut some kings' heads off and everything by this point in time, but this is another part of the world. Everybody's not right next door, and they're going through their own situations at their own time. So, yeah, they're looking at how folks were enslaving people and making them do stuff. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we'll do that too. They're looking at how folks are just forcing people to do stuff. Oh, I think that works for us. We'll do that too. Keep in mind, the military had expertise regarding the development of gunpowder, hence making it stronger and more powerful. Definitely have to say something about superior weapons. If you have 2 toothpicks and a slingshot, you're probably not going to win a war against people that have ballistic missiles. It's not going to happen. So the weaponry is so important. What type of weapons do you have? If you have rocks and spears and they have gunpowder, so, you can make some inferences yourself, young person, about what that means. So, continuing on, a little summary of that, what I just read. The article that the student was coming from says it provides details concerning the collapse of the Ottoman Empire from the 1600s. The empire appeared to be losing its military as well as economic dominance in Europe. At such a time, the continent had been increasingly strengthened by Renaissance and the early Industrial Revolution. You see, the continent, people start, picking it up that, okay, everybody else has these different ways of thinking. The Renaissance kind of leads into the Enlightenment, which kind of led us into the Revolutionary Wars period, which obviously spurred the Industrial Revolution. When folks start saying, look here, cut this mess out, all this witchcraft, you look for witches now, all this, the church is the only thing we're supposed to listen to. Let's industrialize. There's some things that happen, and there are effects on the other side. Everything is cause and effect. Something happens, something else happens. Something happens as a result that happened. For every action, there's a reaction in every historical period. So yes, the Industrial Revolution has something to do with the weakening of the Ottoman Empire because they can't keep up. Even though they're doing good because they developed gunpowder. That's good. But remember, now we've got factories. Don't let us find out how you're making that gunpowder. We'll mess around and mass produce gunpowder all over the world, and we'll be the main ones with the secret to the factory mass production system. So, continuing on. In 1683, the empire lost the Battle of Vienna. This was probably the biggest blow. There was also some trade competition from America. When America had popped up in 1776, when America gets on the scene, it's the youngest of these old world countries. America, it's very young. But at the end of the day, they were doing their thing, and they definitely got him on board with the Industrial Revolution. So they're trading and they're making money, and there's a competition there. You cut your competition out, and your competition's broke, and then you go beat them up and take their stuff. That's just my way of paraphrasing. So anyhow, this Battle of Vienna in 1683, very, very important. This contributes to the further weakening. Over the next century, the empire started losing some of its significant regions. For instance, in 1830, Greece revolted and gained independence. In 1878, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Romania, they earned their independence from a declaration by the Berlin Congress. In 1912 and 1913, when the Balkan Wars ensued, the empire lost almost all of its European territories. The Ottoman Empire joined the First World War in 1914, where it fought alongside the Central Powers, including Austria-Hungary and Germany. The Central Powers in World War I were the bad guys. The Axis powers in World War II were the bad guys. The common denominator was Germany. Keep that in mind. So they were on the side of the Central Powers in World War I, and the Central Powers lost. So every time a war is over with, a treaty is written. You're going to have to give up some territory. You're going to have to give us this and this and this and this. This happens every time. So they fought alongside the Central Powers, including Austria-Hungary and Germany, but they conceded defeat in 1918. A treaty was made subdividing the empire's territories into Russia, Greece, Britain, and France. So half the stuff they had went to Russia, Greece, Britain, and France. Oh, have mercy. They were doing really good, and then look what happened. The decline, let me see. I think that's all I'm going to do for this video. I'm going to let you read the remainder of the document. There are stars and things underlined in this document that I provided for you, so you can check that out. And again, just do what I do. Read, stop, make sure you understand words that you're not familiar with. Google those words. You have your phone. If you're at home, you're on the computer, so you're able to look those words up and feel good about the piece of reading that you're doing. This is a very long document, but it's very informative in my opinion, and this is why I chose it. There are some illustrations here. There are a few maps here that I do think you will Yes, there is a map here that you'll gain some insight from. 2 maps, wonderful. So this is what we're doing, and you'll get your summary review video on Thursday. Thursday is when I put out the summary review video. I may have another additional video. Let's see, is it something else? I think I have one more thing to share. China, okay? China is going to go through something really serious as well. A civil war, Chiang Kai-shek and the Kuomintang, the KMT, Mao Zedong, they're going to come up in that situation. They're going through some stuff, trying to suppress free speech, censor people. You better not say nothing. And they're going to go through that. We're going to have some videos about these guys. Gandhi.
Cortland Sam, please report to the main office. Cortland Sam, please report to the main office.
Gandhi. I'm going to have something for you about Gandhi. He's a main inspiration to Martin Luther King Jr., the one that we know. We got Martin Luther from the Protestant Reformation from Germany, and then we have Martin Luther King Jr. right here in the United States of America, coming from Georgia, but did most of his work in Birmingham and got assassinated right here in West Tennessee, Memphis. But he was inspired by Gandhi, and Gandhi helped India become independent from Great Britain. So we'll talk about that a little bit more too, but I want to make sure I got you that. Oh, Franklin Roosevelt and the good neighbor policy. We're going to talk about him in some other videos where you'll understand our influence in Latin America. So that's pretty much the info for chapter 6. So I hope you guys are going to take the facts, because I always ask for facts. I may ask for you to answer some questions, but please just follow the instructions and email me at tjcooper@jmcss.org if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.